Alexander Eggers, thanks, mate, for joining me on this show. Now, we have had a little bit of an interesting time trying to organise this. We've both been very, very busy, so we've finally got an opportunity to sit down and have a chat. So, welcome to the show, mate.
Thank you very much for having me here, and I'm happy to spend this next hour with you.
Yeah, very good. Now, for everybody watching and listening, give us a little bit of a background to Alex and who you are, what it is that you're doing, and what are the areas that you're focusing on at the moment.
Yeah, my name is Alex Eggers, and I'm 45 years old, living in Germany, Europe, and my focus is on Teams adoption at SMB customers. I have a small company with around 50 people. And we have infrastructure and cloud infrastructure and Office 365 consultants. And my special topic, and also my topic as MVP, is Microsoft Teams. And this main topic is adoption and change management for Teams. This is special because we haven't had change management before I think in computer solutions or software solutions. So this was a great experience in the last years what we had here, and this is it.
Yeah, it's an interesting space. It's obviously a really big and important space, change management and user adoption. And for you specifically focusing on Microsoft Teams, we see a lot of organizations and people sort of focusing a lot broader than that across the Microsoft 365 stack. But it's interesting that you're focusing specifically on Microsoft Teams, and I think that's it's an interesting thing. And obviously over the last sort of 12, 24, 36 months, we've seen a massive increase in the usage of Microsoft Teams. And we were just talking before we hit the record button about organizations that are, I guess dipping their toes or going into the usage or the rollout of Microsoft Teams sort of half-baked or half-pregnant, I guess you can say. So what are you seeing with the customers that you're working with, I guess? What are some of the common problems that you're seeing with Microsoft Teams with the increase and the rapid growth? What are you seeing in customers that you're dealing with?
Yeah, we have to look a little bit in the past, because we have done this Teams adoption till Teams arrived at the customers. So this was in March or April 2017, I think. So a long time before COVID. And in the past, we always said to our customers, okay, Teams is not a chat tool. Please, Teams is not a chat tool, can do much more with it. And coming up with Corona or COVID, we had the situation that, of course, it increased the usage because the people are going in the home offices and they need to communicate. And of course, video conferences are the highest important point that you need there when you use then Teams. So now we always have to tell the people Teams is not a video conferencing tool. Yeah, there's much more. It's a platform for all apps, for all information, all for communication. And I think the main problem is that many companies already had the solution Office 365 or Microsoft 365. So they used Word, Excel, or maybe they used To Do and OneNote, and they had Teams, but they didn't use it before COVID. And then when COVID starts, they started to roll out Teams in some days only. Of course, it has to be go very fast. And then there have been some people in the company that are interested in using Teams. So they looked around, what can I do with accepting video conferencing? Because that was for them too easy then. So they found out that you can use some Teams in Teams, and what can you do with Teams in Teams? And then the people from the sales team said there, or maybe the younger people, I don't want to talk about old and young people, but maybe the younger are a little bit more interested maybe in this topic, and they searched for it and they said, oh, in which team am I? Or sales? Okay, I'm the sales team. Let's do a sales team. And they say, oh, we can do channels. What can be channels? Or our customers. Or every customer gets a channel. And then he shouted out to all his sales colleagues and said, "Hey guys, I made a Teams team here for you. We can now work here all. Yeah, okay, do it." And all the others sat up and said, "What did he say?" No, I don't need any other tool. And suddenly, what happens? The communication for the people using Teams used it in Teams, and the other people not using Teams were cut off. So my main topic, what I always say to my customers, the same thing happened at our company at the very beginning. I started with the first meeting in Teams, not a video meeting. I just invited via Teams chat. And one was missing, one person. I called him. I said, "Where are you? We have a meeting now." And he said, "No, where did you tell me?" "Yeah, I routed in Teams." And he said, "I don't start Teams." Okay, so here you see this is the main problem. What happened during the COVID situation, and also before, that we have this, not adoption, just rolling out the solution, and here we go. And this is a big problem because some people use it, some people don't use it, and then the workload or the work flows does not go.
Yeah, and you almost have to have an agreement with the people that or a working agreement with the people that you're working with day in and day out to say, right, this is, we're going to be communicating through Teams, or you're going to get a situation like you've just mentioned where, people are, may not even have Teams open, or they're expecting an email invitation or an email communication, and where, everyone else is communicating through Teams, and they're missing that important information. Now, hey, you touched on something at the start of that conversation there, where people started out just using Teams maybe as a chat functionality or just for meetings, but it is really a lot more than that. And I draw that similarity to the early days, even actually probably still now, to a point where people look at SharePoint, for example, as a file repository, or where we're moving a file share from an on-prem server to SharePoint, and they're literally just lifting and shifting and just using SharePoint as a file repository. And a similar thing I've seen happen to Teams, where we're just using a tiny little capability or feature set of the product itself or the platform, whereas now what we're starting to see is, especially with people like yourself, really going into organizations and really showing them what the capabilities are. And I'm finding, I'm not sure about you as well, that there's a really big lack of awareness about what those features and functionalities are, and it is really important to to continually showcase or train or have regular, I guess some people call it brown bags or lunchtime sessions or that type of thing, just to reiterate to people or show people what we can actually do with the Teams platform.
Yeah, Daniel, you just said so many things I would like to answer to. Maybe we can divide it a little bit, because I also do some sessions on speaker slots around the communities, and one of this is the 5 biggest mistakes on Teams adoption. And you just said 2 of them. But first of all, I want to talk about this problem with the leadership. As you just said, the knowledge is not there. So the first thing, what we do when the company comes to us and said, okay, we had Teams, or we have Teams, so it doesn't work, we have wild growth, what can we do? First of all, we talk to the highest leadership and the C-levels, and talk to them in a workshop. What have you done here? So, and what are you using? What is Teams? You need to know more about this, because it isn't a video conference tool. So you need to know more about this, because you changed the way how you work, and you need a vision. You need a vision for the idea how the modern work should be in this company. And the leaders need to know this. They don't know it. They just thought about video conferencing. And so I really talk to them so that they understand, what is it for? What can you do with this? And so we breaking then down when they say, okay, go on. the next first part is to talk about the leadership of the leaders next to in the next row and the next row. So all the leaders need to know all about this topic teams and what happens when they introduce to it, or maybe they don't want to, so they have to stop to enable teams in teams. So they only can use chat or video conference because the wild growth comes with teams in teams. So this is one of the first things what I like to give your viewers here is it's very important to have the leadership in the boat. So they know what's happening, what will change, and also they need to use Teams. You can't believe some people come to me and they say, okay, it's called Teams, not leadership. So my team can use Teams, but not me. They can write me emails. No, sir, this does not work this way. I cannot tell your team that they should use Teams and not write emails, and you say they need to write an email to me. This doesn't work. Yeah. So that's one of the main points. What you forget is to enable the leadership for this special thing, because they also need to use it. So, and the second thing, because he already said it, is the main point that you need commitment. What we do is after we have a journey, a customer journey, of course, and the last part of this customer journey is the process workshops, where we have trained the people, we come together in groups, and this could be the departments, or this could be informal teams just for an event or whatever they need to do, and we help them to build this teams in teams. How you structure it, what is expected to be in this. Do you write or do you save the files in there? And where do you save the files? Do we chat in there? Do you have a group chat? What reaction times do we want to have in this special department or group? And we write this down so everybody can read it after it. So we have something like an introduction and commitment. We want to use it this way. And very important is that they need to see that it's their own idea what they have to use it. Okay, so we talk about what's not good in your department, what is bad, what could be better, or what is the main point, why is it so bad, and how can teams help you with these bad points. And so they get an idea and say, okay, if you can help me with this bad point, and it will get better with Teams. So I want to use Teams, of course, because I don't want this bad points. You know, this is just this point of the change management. I want to have this solution because you help me. What's in for me? Yes, you have half an hour less time working. Great, I want to have this. So these are the two things what you said. And this also does not happen. When I come to companies, last sentence, when I come to companies, in first time they say, no, we even haven't trained our personal. So this is, what should I say when you even haven't trained your people? But some have trained the people, but just they showed them what Teams can do. But they don't know how to use it then, because when you open Teams, it's empty. Teams in Teams is empty. There's nothing in. So you have to do it on your own mind, and they don't have the experience to do this. So they need help with this. And this is a very big point that we go in these process workshops, and everybody in the company, everybody who has a little bit more information around how to use Teams in Teams can do these workshops just to help the people onboarding.
I think, yeah, and you touched on a good point there. An important one is that getting the teams or the groups of people together and really allowing them to own their own team and their structure and things like that. And it really does, or I find really does help with the adoption of that, because they can then, rather than, let's say, IT or not to pick on IT, but just as an example, just to say, right, here's a Microsoft team, here's your channels, here's your tabs, go off and use it. If you sort of flip that on its head and you start with the group of people, you start with what they're trying to achieve and the pain points that they're trying to solve with Microsoft Teams, or that way of working, and how to improve that. they then begin to have some ownership in that setting as well,
Yeah.
and that really does help with the usage and the adoption of it, because they're in control, and they're setting things up the way that they want and how they want to work. Whereas another group of people, might have a team that's set up completely different, for example, but it suits their way of working. So there's not, although we talk about, I guess, templating and ease of use and, rollouts and things like that, it really does get specific to the group of people. And that's where I think Microsoft Teams really excels, is that how customizable it is, and how this group of people can have a completely different type of setup and an approach as to a different group. They're still using Teams, but they might be using it in a slightly different way, and they're getting a very, very good outcome.
Yeah. What I have to add here is we talk about the group that talks about how to use Teams. One main problem, as I already said in the beginning, the salesperson who added the channels, just like customer names or something like this. When you have a look at your email account and your Outlook, I always tell the people, have a look how you organize yourself within Outlook. Under your incoming email, sorry, what is the main incoming email?
Your inbox.
Inbox. After under your inbox, you have some. I'm sorry, my English ordner. Some
folders.
I'm sorry, I got it. So you have some folders, and everybody of you has his own folders within under his inbox, because everybody is using it differently. So how you name the folders under your inbox is totally different. So it's not possible that only one person in the group decides how you name the channels. This does not work, because maybe other people also coming new people in the team 1 year later, they don't even know what you meant with this channel name. So they don't use the channel because they don't know how to use it. And here's one special tip what I want to give you. When you add a new channel, the first thing what you do is write a post, nice post with bold letters and so on, and a subject. What do you expect for this channel? What do you want to have in this channel? What is the main topic of this channel? Because you have only 2 or 3 words for the channel name, and this is not enough. So write down what is the topic on this channel, what you expect. Do we save files here or not? And then you pin this post. So everybody has to learn that he goes in a channel, and even if he does not know what's this channel for, and maybe it's 1 year old, so many posts are in there, he goes on the right top, clicks on this little eye, and then browses down or scrolls down, and there are the pinned posts. So he always gets the information. What the hell was this channel for? So this is thing number 2. The first thing is always use a subject in a post. And the second one is pin your post when you do a new channel.
Yeah, great tip. I don't think that's used enough either. I know the pinned, pinning posts is kind of, which is disappointing a little bit. I know the new features coming out where it's going to pin across the top. It's starting to roll out now. But yeah, pinning it, you have to go into the information menu and then you'll find those. But that's a very, very good tip. Having that very first post as the description and expected use of that particular channel. Now, what about when if we talk a little bit about I guess a team's architecture, I guess I'll call it, and what to use when type of scenarios. So I find a lot of organizations are still a little bit confused about, do I use a group chat? Should I use a team? Should I use a private channel? Should I create a brand new team? And especially around group chats, I find that there might, and this kind of creates mini silos as well when
exactly.
people are creating a group chat, when potentially it probably should be as a team. What are your key takeaways or key tips that you share about that type of situation?
Yeah, I think this is always the beginning, as you already said. It's also my first slide when we talk about this. When is it a chat? When is it a group chat? When is it a
Mm.
Teams team? When is it a channel? And when is it a private channel? And as I might add, when is it a shared channel? Oh my God,
See,
what's coming up there?
I know already, even with that 10 seconds, you've said team, channel, group chat, shared channel. There's so much, and this goes to this whole topic of change management, user adoption. There is so much stuff that people need to be aware of. It's not just a one size fits all. It is a continual process that people need to undertake.
Yeah, it is. And this is a huge problem because you have so many things that you have to view. What can you do with a chat? What can you not do with a chat? And even the people
Mm.
don't know it. So they just use it as they expect how to use it. And this is the main point. What we say is the difference between when do I post in a Teams team in some channel and when do I write it to the chat. I think this is one of the first things we have to decide. When is it a chat? When is it a Teams team? It depends on sustainability. So how important is this information in the future? As I always say, when you meet people, of course not during COVID times, but in the past, you meet a colleague at the coffee machine and you tell him, okay, tomorrow I will bring breakfast because I have a birthday. This is a great information, but it is useless in 2 days. It's only
Mm.
useful today because tomorrow is it. So this is a good information and you put in a chat because it's no information later. But
Mm.
when you have informations that are very important also in the future, or you have to look back, what have we spoken about in the past for a special project, it's very important to have this in a Teams team because it's more reliable. You have more access to these posts next to the chat because the chat is going away. You have no posts that are come together. It's just text. So sustainability is, in my thing, a very big point to think about. Okay, is this important in the future or not? So in every case, no, not in every case. In many cases, we have next to a Teams team, maybe also for a department, we also have a group chat for this department. But we need to difference in this because you don't want to
Okay.
have a post in a Teams team where it says, okay, I have a birthday tomorrow. You don't need to bring breakfast, or I bring breakfast. It's useless in a Teams team.
Mm.
Yeah. So this is the first thing what I want to say, and the second thing is how do you structure what you need to talk about it. And as I said before, when you have something like a project or a department or something that is longer than just one day, I think this could be a Teams team. And the main thing is, when do I do a new Teams team is, I say, have a look on what's the base. And the base are the members. So if you have a different base, you might have a different Teams team.
Mm.
Just a small explanation. I come to a company and they had a sales team and a, what I say, technical team. So, and they had a channel in the sales team that said sales technical. And I said, what is sales technical? The technical people are in the other team. And they said, yeah, we need to work together. So we invited them all in our sales team and we work together in this one channel. And I say, no, this does not work, people, because the technical people also see all the other channels in the sales team and they don't want to see this. It's too much
Mm.
information. So you change the base. The sales team are the sales people. The technical team is the technical people. And when you now have a new base, sales and technical, this is a new Teams team. Okay, so
Yep.
I always get the answers then, yeah, well, so we have so many teams then. Yes, you have so many teams because you need to structure it
Mm.
correctly. And you cannot do a Teams team as a project and say every project is a channel. You cannot divide under this channel more channels. It's not possible. So you only have then one channel for a project, and this is not good. Do a different Teams team, yeah, and open this.
Yeah, I see that a lot, especially that project example where you've got a project team and then 20 or 30 channels, one per project. But that, and a good example there is a project might have different streams. So you might have design, implementation, et cetera, where you can't. If you're just using a single channel for that project, you can't break that up into different streams.
And one more, Daniel, one more very important thing what the people don't know. You cannot archive a channel.
Yeah.
You can only delete it. So when you have the project is over, what do you do with the channel? You can delete it or it stays there. So when you always get more projects, this does not work. Yeah, you need to have a Teams team because you can archive a Teams team. This is also a very big point for wild growth people. I know I cannot explain why Microsoft did this way, but when you go on the three dots on a Teams team, you can only delete a Teams team. You cannot archive it there. But when you go on the, what is it in the bottom? This, I don't know the English word, Zahnrad. Next to do a new Teams team, you have a little bit more on the right. There's a little point. Sorry, I don't know the English word.
That's okay.
Well, on the bottom on the left, you click the button and you want to add a new Teams team. And next to this, there's a little point. And when you go on there, you get in an overview of all teams that you are in. Yep. And there are also three dots next to the Teams team. But when you go there, it's the exact same menu, but with one point. There is Teams archiving. This is not on the left. This is only on the right side. So Teams archiving, and this is very important that the people need to learn how to archive a Teams team, that you don't have the problem that all these teams are still alive. They only put this aside, so it's not visible. That's what the most people do, so they don't see it anymore, but still there. And this is not good. You need to archive teams that are not used anymore. Yeah, this is very important.
Yeah. It is absolutely very important. Now, I was reading some content of yours, and you explained, and this was I'm not sure if this is your quote or whatever, but you mentioned that learning is like rowing against the current. If you stop doing that, you drift back. Now, in organizations, we've now, obviously you've come in, we've rolled out teams, we've set up a good, good governance. We've got the leaders on board. We've done some initial training. People are in there. We've agreed on how we're going to work and how we're going to use Teams for file management, communication. How important is this ongoing training and this ongoing process? So rather than, and again, before we were hit record here, we're talking about other, you mentioned a couple of other applications inside of Microsoft 365. So maybe Microsoft To Do, where, you can just introduce that and people are off and running. Whereas Teams is a little bit different. We need to continually train people and make people aware of everything involved in that platform. So now that we've launched Teams, what are some good approaches, and what do you see that works really, really well in continual learning for Teams?
Yeah, as you just said, we have the main problem is that we not only have different tools that you can also use, we also have the main problem that the teams get always updates. Every week there are updates, and it's so hard to follow them. And I can tell it, I'm not doing anything different than Teams. The whole week, I'm only doing Teams and see what happens there. So it's so hard to follow all this new stuff and to see how does it work, what does not work, what did you expect to work, and so on and so on too. So what we do are two things. First of all, next to Teams adoption, we also need adoption or training on all the other tools, because you need to know how Planner works. Planner is so important for Microsoft Teams, or also To Do, of course, because of tasks in Planner you have To Do there, or OneNote as a wiki part. So what we do next to Teams adoption is that we also train people on these topics, and we also have something like a community for Office 365, because you can go in a OneNote training, 2 hours. When you come back to your desk, maybe you have so many things to do. It's not possible to get this done, what you have just learned, because you're full of work. So we have a community where we build in these companies. So 1 or twice a month, we come together, all the interested people, what they say, okay, I think OneNote is really great, or To Do, whatever, but I need more help in this. And we use these community workshops. They come together. We get 15 minutes update on a special topic we talked about before, what the topic will be. And half an hour we talk about this special thing and how it helps you. And last quarter is talk about what different questions you have to other topics. So just to get these people more involved, to not leave them alone with all these tools, to help them. Mainly the people who wants to have help. And now we get one great thing. Just today, one customer told me, we get influencers within the company, because there are coming people saying, hey, this is a great solution. And they run around and go to other people and say, I've done this To Do workshop, and To Do is so great. And they talk maybe at the lunchtime there. And so all the other people say, okay, well, if you're doing this, I also need to have a view on this. So, and because of these community events, we still have a rolling roll. It's always going on. And this is one thing for all the other tools. And let me say a last thing on Teams. It's a little bit the same. As you might know, the adoption path for Microsoft, we have the champions team. So the multiplicators, however you call them, people who help us to get this Teams adoption running, because we have different roles. And one role is also to have a blog post writer or a videograph or video person who is filming or writing down all this new stuff coming to Teams and posting this in a Teams team. It's like an SOS Teams team where you have the update channel, and there they post all the new stuff. It's very important, guys. It's very important that the people from your own company post there. Don't post my posts. No one wants to read this. Or don't post Microsoft videos. They don't want to see them. Your own persons in your company need to make videos. They don't have to be perfect. Just take a phone. It doesn't matter. Just a small thing. But it must be from your own personal stuff there, because it's more authentic. And also write your own blog posts on new topics. So in every case, the next years, also when we as a consultant are out, there are people like these champions always do all the new stuff to the people. So they need an onboarding, mainly for the people who are interested in using Teams. And all the others, you might know, they are always the early adopters, then the whole big part, and the small ones still using fax machines. So you don't get them.
Fax machines, jeez. Look, you touched on a couple of really interesting and important points there, and especially around the community aspect, and having a strong internal community around Microsoft 365 and building that, because that does organically, create these champions and create that, that peer-to-peer type of learning and conversations and that type of thing, I think is really important. And that last point you mentioned as well, although there is a lot of content externally and you could potentially just link to certain things, I think people, it resonates more with people if it's, in context of the organization.
Exactly.
So, writing something yourself, or even if it is just a quick little video, but having that in context of the organization works a hell of a lot better than just linking out to sort of external things, which you can still do. Obviously, it still brings value, but you do get a lot more. I guess a lot more adoption of those updates if it is done internally. Now, let's change tact a little bit. Microsoft Viva, that's obviously a very big push at Microsoft at the moment as well, incorporating into Teams and all of our different modules and things like that. How are you seeing, from your experience so far, how are you seeing organizations, I guess, tackle this subject or this this platform? Are you seeing people more interested in this the holistic employee experience?
Yeah. So as we told before the recording, I want to explain here once more. It's in my experience, what I see, we are doing adoption for SMB customers. So around 100 to 5,000 people or 3,000 people. This is our main topic. So it's not that Viva is so hardly interested in for the leadership or for the HR. As I told before, the HR people in these companies are maybe 2, 3, 4 people, and they have so much to do that they don't have an eye on employee experience so much. When you go in bigger companies, enterprise companies, there are many, many more people in HR teams. So it's much easier to give one the role, okay, talk about employee experience and find out what we can do there. So that's why I have not so many experience, because my customers are not so interested in, well, especially some people are at the customers, but it's hard, because when we're doing Teams adoption and the next point we come with resilience in Teams, it's not that easy, because resilience, there's no German word for resilience. The people don't know what it does mean, what it means. So it's very heavy to explain resilience and the Viva context. And one point more, Viva Topics has no German support, so it doesn't work so well in Germany. So this is also not the point. Then we have Viva Connections. Of course, Viva Connections now works, but as you might know, it's only 2 months ago. So how does it really work? And the last thing is Viva Learning. And so Viva Learning, I think this might be a good one, but also there need to be more updates. We need more features, I think, to use it really good. So I'm sorry. So my experience are not that fast growing, because we just don't have so many customer projects around this. Yeah, but I think there will be more, because. Sorry, we just talked about learning. I really think that learning is one of the main points for this decade. We have to accept that learning will be a big point. And so Viva Learning will be a part of it. We have already customers that said, okay, we want to have LinkedIn Learning as a platform. We want to use it. And we know we have a LinkedIn Learning connect to Viva Learning. So this might be a possibility. But what I find is, when we have more features, like what they already said, they find out when is your pause, when is your break. So, and they give you some information. Okay, what can you do in your break? What might be a good video course, what you need. So we need more AI, what's already announced, that helps you. Otherwise, you just have a YouTube platform, like a YouTube platform where you just have the videos and that's all, but you need to search for them on your own. So I think when we get more of this stuff, it might be more interesting for the people. Right now, we just have platform integration. Right. It's not more.
Yeah, that's right. So I think, and what I've heard from Microsoft as well is, and they talk a lot about, having the whole story, I guess, the whole employee experience story, rather than just individual, applications. Like we've got Viva Learning over here, we've got Connections, we've got Topics, but having that all integrated and intertwined into the entire platform so that it does become the flow of work type of discussion there. So if I'm, I don't know, talking to you on Teams and we, specifically talking about something, there might be some AI or some proactive type of things that come into play that actually push content to me rather than me having to go out and actually actively go out and find that. So I think the more that improves and the more that gets integrated, I think we'll start seeing a lot more applications for Viva in general, I think, as well.
Yeah.
Now, a couple more topics before we wrap things up. Microsoft Loop, that's obviously been, heavily, heavily advertised and marketed and things like that since, for the last few months. What do you think of Loop? What is your, elevator pitch? What is it?
People, I can tell you, have an eye on Loop because it changes so great how we work together. I'm really excited. And as you also have, as me, we have the MVP tenant with the Ring 1.5 where we can see what happens there. And we may not talk about it, I know, but there are so many good things in there. What's coming up, what helps end users to work better together. And for the people who don't know what is Loop, it's just like the fluid framework. We have the possibility to have small points where you can work together. And maybe in a Teams chat, you can actively write down with two or more people at the same time. It's just like in Excel. You can open Excel and work together in there, but it's a special file what you have to open, and it's much easier to access these loop points. Also, the integration what we will get with other software solutions like OneNote, where we have the integration, and also the integration. We have seen it in the videos, so I talk about what we have seen before is that we have something like agenda or tasks in meetings where we have this loop in, and I really think this will help people exactly for this main topic. It's so bad how you use agendas and tasks for meetings. Where can you always have a different solution where you write this down. It's not very good done. So now with the Loop, we have, especially for end users, much easier integration and easier way to store information to get faster access. And there's so many possible. So have a look on it. It's a shame a little bit because they introduce it as always with very small part what you can see.
Yeah, that's
because
right.
It will be very big. You just see the small one, and it's But hang out there. They're coming so great things.
Yeah, so obviously it's rolling, or Loop components are rolling out to Teams now in chats and meetings and things like that. And I've started using it myself, and what I'm finding is that rather than having, for example, OneNote, if we're taking meeting minutes or adding tasks or whatever it is, we sometimes use OneNote and things like that. But now we don't have to do all of that, and there's things that I guess are a little bit cumbersome when we're doing that. But now with Loop, the ease and the quickness and the velocity that we can just all to get together on this single canvas. We've got, agenda items, we've got tables, we've got everything like that. And then also being able, and you mentioned before about the different endpoints. So being able to have this one container, I guess, access it in a Teams chat, send it through an email. It's exactly the same thing. And then it's live and everybody can be working on it. It's it really is going to change the way that, groups of people collaborate and really have a big impact on the velocity of that. Yeah. Now, as we wrap things up, it's been a very good conversation. Now, as we wrap things up, You mentioned before about a particular session that or presentation or that type of thing that you're focusing on at the moment, and I'll let you explain what that is in just a second. But for everybody watching and listening, where can people find you? Where you post a lot of content, a lot of great tips and tricks and user adoption stuff. Where's the best place that people can follow you?
Yeah, the best place would be LinkedIn, because on LinkedIn, this is my biggest base where we have the most information and where we have also English posts, because my main market is Germany. So there are also some German posts between, but I try always to have more English content on LinkedIn. And for the German followers here, you can also use YouTube, but this is only German. So there are also many things. I have a special Teams show every Thursday evening with my MVP colleague Ragnar Heil. Or no, every 2 Thursdays now, twice a week. No, not twice a week, every 2 weeks. So sorry, we changed it. We have done it 1.5 years every week. Now we changed it, but this is also German content. So just follow on LinkedIn. This might be the best point. And we also do very, very much around content, what we learn at our customers, and give quick tips. And we have a Teams Tuesday with information every week. And if I may now tell you, it's this session. I'm a speaker at many conventions and also community events. And one where you can hear me in English is Teams Day Online 5. So Teams Day Online 5. Just search for it, Teams Day Online 5 from Russ. This is an English, in an American conference. Of course, worldwide you can attend. And I will talk about the 5 main failures in Teams adoption. We already talked about 2 or 3 today. I think governance is one more what we didn't talk about, and maybe culture. Culture is also a big problem within Teams, especially here in Germany, I think. Or I don't know, maybe in other countries also. But maybe you come there on Teams Day Online and follow me on LinkedIn. This would be great.
Yeah, excellent. I'll post all of that in the show notes. So everybody that's watching and listening, I highly recommend that you follow Alexander on those channels. There really is some good tips and tricks. When Alex is working inside of organizations and really, getting those, getting different scenarios and pain points and things like that, and sharing that information. So, mate, once again, it has been a bit of a challenge getting us together, but we have finally got there. It's been a great conversation, so we should make sure that we do this more often and get a lot more content out. So thanks very much, mate.
Thank you very much for having me here, and thanks to all the viewers here, and have a great day.